Hi guys, I'm back again. I love filming YouTube videos. I love it so much. I've missed this and I'm really excited to film today's video because I'm doing a July reading wrap up. I've been wanting to do one of these videos every single month of this year, but I always forget and put it off, and then it gets to the end of the next month and I'm like, oops. I'm finally here. Finally did it, sat down, filming this video. I'm so excited. I wanted to start by showing you guys kind of how I rate my books, because I feel like everyone rates books so differently. Okay, so I read 11 books this month, which might not sound like a lot compared to others, but for me that was really good, and 9 of those 11 books were physical books. So the first book I read for July is It's Not Summer Without You by Jenny Han, which is the second book, yes, the second book in the Summer Turned Pretty series. Obviously the show came out and I wanted to read the books before I watched the show. I was going to read all 3 of them while I was in Bali last month, but I ended up getting super sick and only ended up reading the first one. But I did read the second one this month. I didn't enjoy it as much as the first one. I can't really give you guys my reason as to why without spoiling it, so I can't really say. It was definitely still good. I'd give this like 3 stars. It wasn't for me, but I would definitely recommend it, and I think overall as the series it was good and it added a lot to the story. I'm just gonna say Team Conrad. That's all I'm gonna say. The next book I read is one that I can't believe I put it off for so long. If you know me, if there's one thing that you should know about me, it is that I am a Penelope Douglas stan first and a human being second. I can't believe I put this book off for so long, and that is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. I love this. This gets a 4.75 from me. It was perfect. I'm in love with it. I don't know. I'm not an age gap girl. I do not like an age gap, and that's quite ironic looking at the stack of books I have next to me here. Maybe I do love an age gap, I don't know, but normally I don't. Then I read this and Pike. So if you don't know what this is about Jordan, who is 19 years old, and she's dating this guy called Cole, and he is a bit of an asshole. The best way to describe him is he's a 19-year-old boy who's extremely irresponsible and like entitled. He just kind of sucks. They end up moving in with Cole's dad, Pike, who he doesn't really have much of a relationship with. So they end up moving in. He is a single dad. He lives by himself in this like kind of big house, so he lets them stay with them. And along the way, Pike and Jordan kind of catch some feelings, and I mean, yeah, I don't want to say too much. It's basically about a girl and her boyfriend's dad. I honestly would recommend this to everyone. I think everyone should read it. I feel like it's done in a really good way. I do feel like Penelope did a very good job with this book. I don't know if I said I'd give this 4.75 stars. I think I said that, but I'm not sure. Next book is actually also by Penelope Douglas, but my boyfriend actually bought me this for Christmas. You guys, I could cry. I don't know if you guys could see that, but it is signed by Penelope. And you know what? I loved this book, so I'm glad that this book is signed. This is Credence, by the way, by Penelope Douglas. I feel like a lot of people have heard of this book. I would give this like 4.5, 4.75 stars. I loved it. I honestly still think about it every day, but like I probably would never recommend it to people because a lot of people are gonna hate it, and that's completely fine. I understand why this book gets hate. I understand. But like I said, anything Penelope writes, I'm gonna love it. I read both of these books in a day, and like Credence isn't small. I don't know how many pages it is. It's like 460 pages, and I read it in literally a day. I could not put it down. I love this book. It's basically about a girl, Tianan. Hi, I'm editing, and I gave the worst possible description of Credence. I literally didn't explain what it was about. It took me 20 minutes. I don't know what was going through my head,
But basically it's about Tiernan, who is just under 18. She's about to turn 18, and both of her parents end up dying at the very beginning of the book. So basically her step uncle, who she's never met in her life, and he's like her only living family, he calls and he's like, hey, technically you're my responsibility now, but you're about to turn 18. I don't really care. You can stay in LA, you can come live with me, whatever. And long story short, she moves to Colorado, up in the mountains, with her step uncle and her 2 step cousins, so Jake, Noah, and Caleb. And then they get snowed in for the winter. She turns 18, all of that. And then it kind of becomes like a little love square between the 4 of them. And yeah, I swear it's actually good. I don't know.
It's really good though, guys. I swear it's actually good, okay? In real life, if someone told me that, I'd be like, no, maybe don't do that. But it's not real. It's a book, and I enjoyed it. Next book I read, 5 stars. Not a day has gone by since I read this that I haven't stopped thinking about it, and that is Gothichana by Rhodey. This book, guys, this book, I am convinced that it was scooped directly out of my brain. It was made for me. There's literally no other way to put it. This book was made for me. Starting, I mean, with the cover. Are you guys seeing that? Are you guys seeing that? If you take away one thing from this video, it is that you need to read Gothichana right now. I didn't even say what this book was about yet. Basically, this book is about Corvina Clem. She grew up with her mum, who has schizophrenia, and basically I think she's 22, and she gets invited to this university called Varenmore, and it's this very like secret university, I suppose, and she ends up meeting Vad, who is her professor. So it's kind of an age gap, but he's only like 7 years older than her, so it's not a big age gap. And there's a lot of secrets and mysteries that happen in the castle. There's like people who go missing, and there's like ghosts and spirits, and there's a masquerade ball in this book. Yeah, I feel Corvina in my soul, you know what I mean? I think she's a piece of me. I literally think she is a part of me. Anyway, I'm in love, and you need to read this book right now. The next 2 books I'm going to talk about at once because they're both part of the same series. That is Zodiac Academy 2 and 3. I read the first one, I think 2 months ago, and I loved it. Another thing you should know about me, if I hear someone mention a zodiac sign, I'm there. I'm in the conversation. I'm the kind of person that the second I meet someone, I will figure out when their birthday is so I know that know what their sign is. And then when I get close enough, I will be asking for their birth time and their place of birth because I need to know their entire chart. I'm sorry. That's just me. And also, I'm a Gemini, and the main characters of this book are Geminis. But yes, so I read book 2 and 3, which is Ruthless Fae and The Reckoning. I gave both of these 4 stars. They definitely all leave you wanting more, and they all pick up right after the previous one finishes, if that makes sense. It's basically about these 2 twins, Tori and Darcy. Basically, they end up finding out that they are Fae, and that they're actually like heirs to the throne. Their parents were the king and queen of Solaria, which is like the world where the Fae live. And so they have to go to this school called Zodiac Academy, and they have to go through the school to get their inheritance. So they go, and there's these 4 guys called the Celestial Heirs, and they are basically the new heirs to the throne since the Vega twins were like in the human world. Does that make sense? I feel like it's kind of hard to grasp onto just explaining it, but I will say the first book, it does a really good job of setting the scene and explaining like the lore of Solaria and the different beings and stuff. There's like vampires and werewolves. That's basically all I can say, but I highly recommend reading these. So that is what I read, my 2 Kindle reads for this month. So those are Groupie and Rhodey, which are the first 2 books in the Rock Hard Beautiful series by C.M. Stunick. I don't know how to say that name, I'm so sorry. I really enjoyed these. I gave the first one a 4 and the second one a 3 stars. Maybe I'd give them both 3.5 stars. Actually, yeah, I'm changing it. 3.5 stars. I enjoyed them. I don't think I'd ever really be like, oh, you should read this book. They basically are about a girl named Lilith, and it's a reverse harem about her and this rock band, and her following them on their tour, pretty much. It's pretty good. She like meets them by chance. It's very like One Direction Wattpad. It's kind of how it feels. And that is no hate to these books. I love that. I ate it up. I really enjoyed it. If you like reverse harems, if you like rockstar romances, if you don't mind a little bit of like Wattpad style like cheesiness, go for it. They are on Kindle Unlimited, so if you have Kindle Unlimited, check them out. There is a 3rd book. I haven't read it yet. After those, I read In Too Deep by Jade Church. This book was actually sent to me by Jade. It showed up the other day and I was like, oh my gosh. So I read it the night that it showed up. It's quite short. I think it's like just under, yeah, it's 278 pages. A super quick read. I can't lie, it took a little bit for me to get into it. It did. I had to kind of force myself to keep reading for the first few chapters. But overall, the storyline I really enjoyed. It's basically about a girl, Rose, who, like a socialite kind of vibe. Like her parents are really well-known business owners, so she spends a lot of time like in the tabloids and like the paparazzi following her and everything. She ends up having this stalker, and that brings in Blake. They're family friends, so they grew up together, but they don't get along. They don't really like each other, but their mums kind of want them to get together. You know how it is. So they end up setting up an arrangement for Rose to be planning this gala for Blake. So they have to start spending time together when they haven't really hung out in years. And then the stalking develops from this stalker, and she has to move out of her home, and she ends up getting roped into staying at Blake's house. So obviously the forced proximity, the whole time you're kind of like trying to figure out who could the stalker be while also following their romance. I gave this book 3 stars, like 3, I don't know, I'm torn between a 3 and a 4 because I really enjoyed it. I would recommend it. Like, I'd give it a 3.5, but I would recommend it to people. The next book I read was Heartburns by Colleen Hoover. I have been wanting to read this book since the start of June. I was going to read it again in Bali, but obviously I got sick and couldn't read. But I finally read it. This is my first Colleen Hoover book, and let me say, it was such a good one to start with. 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. 5 stars every day of my life. I am obsessed. Basically, this book is about Bea, who has a pretty rough life. It's just her and her mum, and it's very much like the typical book portrayal of sort of the trailer park addict mum, very poor life. And the book starts off and her mum basically ODs and dies. Bea goes and moves in with her dad, her stepmom, and her stepsister. And basically she hangs out with like Sarah, who is her stepsister, and Sarah's friends, which is her boyfriend, and this other boy, Samson. And Sarah is basically trying to set up Samson and Bea from the very beginning, and both of them are like, not happening, not interested. And they basically have these like secret rendezvous. No one really knows that they're hanging out, but they develop this really strong friendship, which obviously winds up being more, but they agree to just keep it very shallow, not get in too deep, because they both have to leave at the end of the summer. And obviously in true Colleen fashion, there's a big plot twist. It was incredible. I loved it. I loved it so much. I literally loved this book so much. For the final book of this month, we finished on a relatively high note with Identity by Alexia Manzaranis. But this was a Wattpad book, actually. She wrote it on Wattpad, and I started it earlier this year. Oh no, is that might be real? No, I was late for my Be Real. Anyway, back to the video. I read this, I started this earlier in the year when it was on Wattpad, and then it ended up getting published, so I stopped reading where I was at, waited for it to come out, and I finally got around to finishing it off. This is about Trinity, who relatively recently lost her dad, and a big part of her and her dad's life was music. So ever since he died, which he was actually murdered, she kind of just never listened to music again. She lives in like a small town in Canada, and a family moves in next door, and they have these triplets, Leonidas, Elijah, and Amelia. Her and Leonidas actually don't really get along very well, and so she really just hangs out with Amelia and occasionally Elijah.
Okay, so I'm editing this video, I was about to upload it, and I realized that I must have deleted the clip of me finishing my explanation for this book. But basically, Leonidas and the triplets are in a rock band called Times3, and since Trinity doesn't really listen to music, she doesn't know at all, and her and Leonidas start having this little romance, and he decides to keep it a secret from her because he doesn't want her to treat him differently or anything when she finds out. And yeah, basically it's like a hidden identity kind of rock star romance. It's a lot of fun, and I highly recommend it.
Okay, so that was all of the books I read in July. I had a great month. I'm super excited for next month. I've put myself on a book buying ban and also like a Kindle ban for this month because I have so many physical books and I have a problem. I cannot stop buying them. So I feel like next month, like for my August wrap up, I feel like it's going to be a pretty good, one. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that when I post it. And also, if you want to keep up with what I'm reading and reviews and everything, make sure to follow my Goodreads, which will be linked down below, and also my Bookstagram, which is at jamies.books. I'll have that link down below as well. I am so excited to be back posting on YouTube. Hopefully we can keep it consistent. I have a lot of video ideas planned. I'm so excited to be making book content. This is new for me. I love it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.